Just like that, into it. G'day, Chewy.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, brother. Big, hairy news episode here, and I thought we might just jump on pretty quickly. It is Monday night. It is approaching 10 o'clock, and there has been some pretty massive news announced on One News, their Colmar Brunton poll, to do with what's happening in the polls at the moment, what's happening with the political right, you might say. Yep. So how about we have a look at what's just kind of been announced, and then we'll come back and have a chat about it, eh?
Let's take a look at the numbers compared to our last poll in May. Labor is on 43, down 3 points. National on 26, also dropping 3. The big mover, ACT, gains 5, now on a healthy 14. The Greens steady on 8. Looking at some of our other parties now. New Zealand First is popping up again on 3. The Māori Party steady on 2. And 1 each for New Conservatives and the Opportunities Party. Let's translate that to seats in Parliament.
Right.
Labor brings in 55 and needs the 10 seats from the Greens to form a government.
So
on these numbers, the Māori Party would have 3 MPs, as you can see there. 18 from ACT plus 34 National Blue seats makes 52, well short of the 61 needed to get into power. Let's take a look at the preferred Prime Minister numbers. Jacinda Ardern is on 44, dropping 4 since May. David Seymour is next on 11, jumping 5 points. And worrying numbers for Judith Collins now on 5, down 4 points. National MPs Christopher Luxon and Simon Bridges are nipping at her heels. For more details and reaction, his political editor.
That is a pretty interesting sort of event there, because 2 National Party MPs added together equal what the current National Party leader is, Judith Collins, on 5. But the big news, of course, flipping David Seymour, 11% preferred Prime Minister. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's got to show them just how unhappy segments of the, I guess, traditional national voting base are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like ACT is pillaging voters from Labor. They are disaffected national voters looking for another option. And I think when the only realistic option on the right is ACT, that's bringing in a lot of people that we really don't know a lot about.
Yeah, well, speaking of people, I mean, we can see the numbers here on the screen in front of us. This is obviously a screen grab from the story we just watched. Labor on 43, down 3, understandable. National 26, down 3, concerning. ACT 14. But the interesting thing, obviously, is ACT and National together are 40. So like you're saying, I mean, lose from one, gain from the other. But, of course, Greens and Labor also still get the majority, 51%. But it's the first time. Well, it's not the first time, but it's the first time we've really seen ACT as a serious player. If we go back to the formation of ACT and what they've done, 2002 they were their strongest result. They got 7.14%, had 9 MPs. Now they're talking about being on 14%. So 7 for 9 MPs. I guess 14. You got to probably say 18 MPs. 18 MPs from. And I don't say this with disrespect, because people will go, oh, you're giving them too much of a crack. But what New Zealand would describe as our far right wing party. Now, I don't think it's far right compared to what you see in other parts of the world. But for New Zealand standards, our far right wing party, best part of a 1/6 of the MPs being from that party is really, really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And when you, I guess, factor in the sort of audiences that they've been talking to in the past 2 years, like even if you want to use a particularly on the nose yardstick since the Christchurch shootings, I would be pretty worried about that. There's a pretty hardcore segment that they seem to be talking to, and knowing that they are converting the disaffected national voting base over into ACT, and they're going to expect a certain level of rhetoric and action out of someone like David Seymour.
I wonder as well, I'm just doing a bit of a search while I'm talking to you. There we go. I just put free speech tour in. The ACT party has been going around the country doing I've just brought this up, so I haven't pre-read it, but the free speech tour. And you're talking about Christchurch, the Christchurch shootings. Obviously, the Royal Commission came out. They made some recommendations. It's going through submission process at the moment. And ACT has really picked up this ball and run with it about freedom of speech versus, criminalizing hate speech. I think that is a good place, a good barrow for them to push. It's a good place for them to find voters because there are some concerns in that area. And I've noticed, I keep an eye on the event finder for people coming through Dunedin from time to time. And I see this tour all the time. Like I think they've come through the bottom of the South Island maybe 2 or 3 times, and they're going everywhere. Oamaru, then they're going to Dunedin, then they're going to Invercargill, then they're going to Queenstown, and they're doing all in between as well. So maybe
absolutely,
maybe ACT has done very well with feet on the ground. Maybe they're one of the parties at the moment that have actually got into the community, and this is some of the benefit you're seeing from it now.
Well, I guess you can look at it from a marketing point of view. If you're trying to contest a market or gain followers, voters, customers, the thing you look for is a hole in the market or something that the other guys aren't doing.
Yeah,
and you've seen Judith try and contest this a little bit with the freedom of speech and that sort of thing, and say with the gun buyback and that sort of thing. And really, national fighting over these guys going to ACT is not going to change their position. They are, I think, a hardcore, but a very small hardcore that have gone over there. Whereas where they should be contesting is the guys that voted national, a couple of elections back and decided to give Labour a go because of Jacinda or because of Jacinda's first term.
Yeah,
they're the guys that National has hemorrhaged. And it's just, I can't see the strategy in what Judith is trying to do. I mean, she can be very unlikable. Mm-hmm. And for all of Jacinda's faults, she's likable. She's a good communicator.
Yeah.
The biggest criticism I see online of her is like, I feel like she's speaking down to me. Like every 1 p.m. briefing is supposed to be tailor-made to this guy on Twitter who feels like he's being spoken down to, rather than realizing that, well, actually, this is a leader talking to everybody in the country all at once.
Yeah, I think also Judith has picked the wrong battles. I think National in general since the pandemic have picked the wrong battles. Whichever one of their past 14 leaders they've had in the past 18 months, it's always been, it feels like that they've almost tried this Trumpian kind of attack, which is whatever Labour's doing, we're going to speak out against it. And where they missed out, it started with Simon Bridges when he went off on part of the, he had that famous Facebook posting about what was happening and how terrible everything was. And the whole country went, you know what, Simon, we actually are pretty happy with what the government's doing right now with COVID. And I think that what we're seeing, maybe, to kind of expand on what I was saying before, is the national leaders, plural, have picked the wrong battles. They've picked the battles to basically take down Labour when the country has been quite happy en masse with what Labour's been doing. But maybe this like free speech tour and that kind of stuff, ACT has picked the right issues to make noise about, and that's why you're seeing it. You're not seeing an impact from National, because when they complain, whenever I hear them complaining about what's happened with COVID, I kind of go, yes, I agree on some level. There'll be a point in time where I go, yeah, enough is enough. We need to get back to life. But for me, I don't feel like it's yet. And I get the sense that most of the country doesn't feel like it's yet. So when National goes off about it, I think that maybe they've picked the wrong battles. And in this instance, Seymour's picked the right battles to get that bump.
I think you look at the polling numbers, and I mean, not necessarily this poll, but, when they poll the public and, how satisfied are you with our COVID response? And you see they're very, very strong. They've been up around 80%, some of them. Do you think we've done the right thing around COVID?
Yeah.
And surely you've got to look at those and go, well, maybe us being really contrarian about this and just going, well, the government said this, so we're going to say the opposite at literally every turn. I don't see how that translates into extra votes. I think the voting base would have more respect for an opposition going, well, actually, we're pretty happy with this. There's some stuff that we can fiddle with around the edges. MIQ needs improvement. Maybe we should do this, that, and the other thing. But you can't fight them on COVID.
Yeah. I think the Prime Minister...
something else.
Yeah, they're starting to tweak. I think the Prime Minister announced today that they're going to try sort of an at-home MIQ. You can do it in your own home sort of thing. So I think that's an acknowledgement that we can't keep doing what we're doing. And when we're still seeing numbers, albeit them small, like I remember talking to on a podcast I did with another iteration of what I do online, is that on the same day that New South Wales, a population of 8 million, had 1,200 cases, we had 21. The whole country. So I do like that look at the scoreboard theme. Look at the scoreboard, and the lower our score is this time, the happier we are. But we also, if there's 5 cases a day and 8 cases a day, we can't do this forever. So it's good to see the government starting to say what's the next step. And I don't know about you, but like I need a beard cut, something chronic. Speaking of big hairy news, and I looked up my barber today, and they were like, haircuts and this and that, we aren't doing beards until level 1. So hence the more homeless look at the moment. So I just want to get to level 1 in the South Island so I can go get a beard cut.
I gotta be honest, man, I'm jealous. I had to trim mine back the other day just to be able to wear a mask comfortably. So I'm the other way. I want us to get to a level where we can ditch the masks and I can become more homeless looking. There's a look that I've been wanting to try out, and it's 1880s gold miner. It's just a big square one, maybe with bits of food and twigs in it. But you can't do that with a mask, and it's really affecting my sense of self-worth.
I do a gaiter. That's what I wear. I wear gaiters, like big socks.
Oh, yep.
That's what I wear when I'm at there. But I was just trying to find it. I probably can find it. I've just ordered. I did a Google search the other day, and the Google search was for face masks for big beards. And they are actually out there. You can actually buy them. And I've got one coming in the post this week, and I have to be honest, I'm pretty excited about it.
Look, the algorithm got me really bad the other day. It was beards for Vikings, or Viking masks, or something like this. And it was made for people with the big Viking beards, and it just looked like a bandana, but the marketing was on point.
Yeah, so I've ordered one of these. I actually found them on internationally, then someone in New Zealand. So look, when I get one, I'll do one of those opening videos. Hey, look, let's not get too far off base talking about our big hairiness. John Key has also stuck his head up this week. Now, the polling that we're seeing at the moment won't be because of what Key has said, because that's very recent. But I still think it's kind of salient to bring into this conversation we're having tonight. He's written an opinion piece that's been covered by a lot of people. In a crisis, humans can can be creative and inventive. Faced with the growing acceptance that COVID-19 and its variants may be with us indefinitely, the New Zealand government and public health officials, like NASA in the 1970s, rapidly need to change their thinking to adapt to a new challenge. He was likening the issue we're going through at the moment to the Apollo 13 situation and what happened on there. He went on to call us a smug hermit kingdom. And he says we have to stop being that. What do you think about that, first of all?
I love being smug. Yeah. And why did he make Hermit Kingdom sound so cool?
Sounds like a comedy with me.
Yeah, look, as someone that spends a lot of time on Twitter, I think calling New Zealanders trapped in a smug hermit kingdom, well, Twitter alone is probably stoked with that. I remember the hashtag New Zealand hellhole. Trending for a while, and I'm sure that there's a hashtag for smug hermit kingdom now. I did wonder when I saw that opinion piece pop up whether that was just John Key just firing one out, knowing that it'd get picked up everywhere. I did wonder if he ran it past anyone in his former party, because it really does just land on the floor when it's come out on the same day as these poll results have. when Judith will be wanting to cement herself. Like, I mean, she's been quoted as saying she'll be the national leader in 2023 and she'll be the next prime minister, which is a big call from someone on what, 4 or 5%.
5%.
And then the most popular national leader for decades decides to pipe up as well. I can't see that was helpful.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because obviously they knew the polling was going on, because One News in their item, people can go to their website and check it out properly. I think it was Jessica Mackay said that some of her sources, and she's obviously talking about people in the National Party, were more concerned than that result. They thought it was going to be worse. Now, if they think it's going to be worse, that means that they knew the polling was happening, which means, as you say, if he had a converse with someone, maybe they would have said, hey, there's some polling coming out. Maybe you can wait a week or so. But yeah, I would suspect that means, I mean, he's a, multi-millionaire, just sits around. That's a bit disrespectful, but he's on boards of, Fortune 500 companies. And that's his life now. I don't imagine he'd check in with him. Why would he? He's his own.
There's absolutely no reason for it.
Yeah.
He walked away from National at the drop of a hat. He saw the writing on the wall and decided to become John Key private citizen.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's only really issued a couple of statements. There's this one, and I think he did one either earlier this year or about this time last year, which was the same sort of thing. Oh, we need to open up. We need to open up. And I just couldn't give it credence. But I just can't see it being helpful for National of the ghost of John Key. And I mean, I feel the same every time Helen Clark pipes up as well. It's just her and Jacinda are apparently close, a protege sort of relationship. But I just haven't seen her comments post her being a prime minister to be particularly helpful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just maybe we finish up on this. It's the John Key comment as well. Everybody's favorite comedian, Raybon Khan, came out and tweeted this. It's a conversation, so it's in two parts. Says this: John Key invokes Apollo 13 as his ideal of good crisis governance. Apollo 13 is not COVID-19. Apollo 13 was not infectious. If Apollo 13 exploded, it wasn't going to ricochet across America like a pinball and create contagion, causing 1% of the population to die. Apollo 13 was a spaceship with 3 people on board, and most lives that could be lost was 3. All volunteers who knew the risk when they signed up for it. 3. That was it. Yet NASA decided to ditch their mission to save them all.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's a lesson for parallels that aren't. Let's say the 1918 flu might be a fair parallel, because that actually was a virus that went around the world and killed a bunch of people. But comparing it to something that's not a deadly virus that can be caught off someone as you walk past them on the street, maybe any other comparison should cool their jets, so to speak. Didn't mean to do a pun there on the Apollo 13. But yeah,
I love a good analogy, but really you got to run it past someone to make sure that it works. I think the only, I mean, I hate the war analogy in terms of politics and stuff like that. But I think in the face of a global pandemic and in the face of requiring a national level response from people, we want everybody to go out and get vaccinated, team of 5 million, all of that sort of stuff. The analogy of going to battle for a shared cause is the best analogy that we've got. And I think it's just so apt when you've got people that are anti-vaxxers or anti-maskers or QAnon conspiracy nut jobs, all of that sort of stuff. They're the guys, not pulling their curtains during the Blitz. Or
it's my right to have my candle on and my window open. It's my right.
That's fine. I don't want to impinge that. And, if a stick of bombs land in my neighborhood, well, it's not my fault. Nobody told me that would happen. And it's just, well, we've spent 8 months telling you that would happen. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to a workmate of mine about this John Key thing. And the first thing that and this comes from someone that's not particularly politically clued on. he'll see the big story and that sort of thing. And his first reaction was, "Oh, I guess John Key wants to get off to his holiday home in Hawaii and be able to come back without going through MIQ." Now, if that's the reaction that you're going to get from people that are not, extremely online like you or I, it's not great. It's not a good reaction.
Well, my friend Chewy, it's been lovely to catch up with you tonight. I think it's really fascinating news, and I was quite impressed to see how David Seymour handled it. He was fairly, like David Seymour is. I think if we want to give him some credit, and you don't have to, but if we do want to give him some credit, it's probably he realizes this is a poll at a very strange time in our lives. More than 2 years out from the next election doesn't really mean very much, but it does make for interesting fodder. So cheers for the chat tonight.
Yeah, no worries, man.
And big hairy news out. We'll be back